It's the biggest weekend for Canadian musicians, the Juno Awards, and we are live from London, Ontario, where they will be handed out over the next couple of days. The festive thing to kick it off this weekend is the Juno Cup, and it's where rock stars take on former NHLers and Olympians. And by former NHLers, I mean like Doug Gilmour and Olympian, Natalie Spooner, and musicians Jim Cuddy, who happens to be joining me here, and my best friend. Hey, Jim. How's it going?
Lindsay.
So we're hearing a lot of trash talk on social media from musicians to the NHL players and Natalie Spooner. How have you been preparing for this matchup tonight?
Well, I'm wise enough to know to be quiet because I recognize, this. So around Tuesday of this week every year, I start to get a pit in my stomach because I know it's a whole heap of humiliation coming up. So I look forward to it being over. That's all.
Well, sorry to bring this up, the last 15 of the 16 years, or 15 of the 16 years, you guys have lost. So how does the roster compare?
You said that.
How does the roster compare to years previous?
Okay, well, let's just go click. Last year we lost in overtime. And the overtime format we were formed at the time was 3-on-3. Now, does that seem fair to the musicians? No. I know you were going to say no. So we were a little shocked at that, and we only lost in the last 30 seconds. So that was pretty close. We have some good players, and the NHLers, if we can just keep the governor on them so they're at about 50%, 55%, then we have a chance. But they claim, and maybe they're right, and even now the women's national team girls are saying that if they don't ever want us to touch the puck, we'll never touch the puck. And Spooner said the shootout, the score would be 15-9 on cue yesterday. So that's a little much. So we are motivated to show up and try to do as well as we can. If we were to even come close, that is, I think, shame on them. We shouldn't come anywhere near them, so we have nothing to lose.
The trash talk is phenomenal right now. Never thought I'd hear you throw it out like that. But there is a bit of a serious and emotional tone surrounding this game because for years previous we've seen from Walk Off the Earth, the beard guy, and he unfortunately passed away suddenly in December, and you guys, I understand, are doing something to remember him this year.
Yeah, there'll be a little tribute, and also his son Jackson is playing in the game, and his son Jackson is great. His son Jackson is, I think, 15 or 16, and he's got all that gangly young boy, movement. He's a good hockey player, and so that'll be really fun. But yes, that was a shock. I mean, that's every year. We lose some people from the musical community. This one hit very close to home because I had just talked to Mike about playing. I'd seen him in the airport, and he was always the picture of health. I mean, that was one of his things, right? He was always tanned and beautiful. So I was dumbfounded that happened. So it'll be a little sad, but he would want us to win. So that's what we'll try to do for Mike.
Mike, I want to talk about the actual awards itself. You're a multiple Juno Award winner. There's 80 first-time nominees this year. What does a Juno nomination or win mean for an artist's career?
I think it means a couple of things. I think it means recognition by your musical community, which I think is important just for your self-esteem and your confidence. And then it opens some doors. You can forever tag that onto your name, and it helps with festivals, and it helps with people's general interest in you. It helps you get gigs, and I mean, it's one day or a weekend where there's a huge impact, and then there's a smaller but significant impact for the rest of your career. So I think it. Sometimes it gives people the little kick they need to stay in the business.
That's very interesting. I never thought of that way, but I want to go back to the game quickly. I want to do some quick questions with you. What are the chances you drop the gloves, bring out the mitts, and fight Doug Gilmour?
Oh, Gilmour would be no problem. He's a snowflake. There would be nothing there. But they have Troy Crowder, and Troy Crowder would absolutely, he would actually kill me. And so you can't do that. I'd go after, if it was going to go after, I'd go after somebody with bad knees. Dennis Maruk has bad knees.
Oh,
and I'd go after, what? You got to be strategic about these things. So I go after Dennis. I don't know how good the girls are at fighting. I'll bet Spooner looks strong, but I bet you I could take Sarah Nurse.
Oh my God. Real quickly, what do you think the chances are we make best friends bracelets this weekend?
You know what?
Maybe?
It is all amazing. So yes, there will be a very high, 100% chance there'll be some best friends.
And can I call you Jimmy?
Well, you can, you've always been able. You don't even have to ask. You've always been able to do